نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome to another Business Matters program on Radio Al Ansar. Yes, if it's Monday evening, you with me, Anwar Moolla, and you will be with me for the next 45 minutes on another exciting program in the Business Matters lineup. As we are rapidly coming up to the Minara Business Matters Awards evening, yes, taking place on the 25th of October at the Orient Hall in Durban. We've decided to concentrate on some of the finalists in this year's awards evening categories. Tonight, I'm really pleased to have with me in the studio a gentleman called Samir Khan. And Samir is from a company called the Hydra Power Group, and they have been nominated in the Business Entity of the Year Startup category. Always good to be talking to people that have basically started off recently. So startup category, the Hydra Power Group. And with that, it's Assalamu alaikum to Samir Khan.
Wa alaikum salam. Sakra for hosting me.
Samir, nice to have you in the studio with us, accompanied by his brother Amir, who is also standing here with us, but doesn't want to get on air. He says Samir is the talkative one in the family, so Samir will do all the talking tonight.
Inshallah.
Samir, tell us, I've to be honest, I've never heard of the Hydra Power Group. Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can delve into the Hydra Power Group. Obviously, you're doing something right to be nominated in the Business Entity of the Year Startup category. So, alhamdulillah for that. But tell us a little bit about yourself, your family background, and have you always been a Durban boy?
So as you said, I'm Samir Khan. I was always in Durban. I'm 30 years old, so I stayed in Durban my entire life. Background academically, normal primary to high school. Academic backgrounds, studied in Durban University of Technology, DUT. Right. And I went up until my master's in biotechnology. And then I left. I didn't want to further study. I felt that I was going to be tied down to an academic criteria. So I decided to focus on the idea that I had. And this idea was born when I was in a lecture room and I wasn't paying attention to a lecturer. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that. You're saying high schooling in Durban. Which school were you? I was in Reservoir Secondary. Reservoir Secondary. So, and before that? Primary school was Durban Heights Primary.
Ah, lovely. Okay, so out of your schooling at Reservoir Hill Secondary, you then furthered your education at DUT, right?
Yeah.
What was your undergraduate diploma that you did at DUT?
So my undergrad I did my diploma and my BTech in horticulture.
Horticulture?
Yeah.
And from horticulture, then you did your honors in? Biotechnology.
Yeah.
Was it something that led into from your undergraduate into your postgraduate, if I want to call it that?
Yeah, so I was always interested in the environment and conserving the environment.
Okay.
So I was working on a bacteria called cyanobacteria. So I was trying to create a more biological form of fertilizer rather than a chemical fertilizer.
Okay, so all about the environment.
Yeah.
You're saying from a young age you were quite concerned about the environment.
Yeah, I think the world is dying and many people are not aware of it. We just acknowledge it, but we don't accept it, and no one's doing anything about it, to be honest.
Okay, so when you left high school, did you think or did you know where you were headed, or did it just happen by chance? As you say, it happened sometime when you were not concentrating on a lecture. Yeah,
so after I finished my high school career, applied, and the Department of Horticulture, the first department to accept me.
Right.
So while I was waiting for my rest of my choices, I just took it up because I got a bursary as well. So anyway,
in horticulture.
Yeah, okay. I got a bursary and then I followed up in horticulture. Yeah.
So horticulture was your undergraduate degree, and then your decision on your postgraduate.
So the department didn't have a master's program, so the HOD referred me to one of the professors from biotech, and then they liked my academic record. I'm a straight A student, 16 out of 16 distinctions, 2 cum laudes.
Alhamdulillah.
And then so they accepted me in the program, and they said I was aligned to one of their topics.
Right.
So my objectives aligned with their aims for the department, and then we worked something out.
Okay. And did you enjoy your postgraduate?
Not really, to
No.
be very honest. The experiments were failing, so I couldn't grow the bacteriums, and it was a difficult journey, but at least the difficulty pushed me into my business.
Okay, so tell us, very interestingly, you said you thought of this idea of Hydra Power as a business during one of your times when you were not concentrating at lectures.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that story.
So many people wouldn't admit it, but I'll admit it on air, that sometimes when you be hearing what the lecturer is saying, but you're not listening to what they're saying, you still have to go home and
Your mind
study.
is somewhere else.
Yeah, it's complicated. I remember we were working on soil chemistry or something, so that you never get it in the first time. For me personally, I never got it in the first day. So anyway, I said, I'm going to go home and read this textbook, figure it out. And so that department was on the 5th floor, so some pigeons came up.
Yeah,
to the window, and then they were drinking up some water, and they were having they flapped their wings in the water, etc. So that got it pulled my attention away from the front. And when I looked outside, I saw it did not rain, nor did they do any form of window washing. We're 5 stories up.
Right.
So I've been there for years. I know they're not going to wash that place. So anyway, during the break, I went outside and had a look. And I saw that the drains were clogged, basically.
Right.
And then I noticed, hey, this water is being emitted by the building. And when I went back in after that 10-minute break, opened the last page of my book, took my pen, sketched out a system. And then I did that in 2016. I really followed up on hydropower in 2018. That's when
you had finished graduate.
Yeah, that's when I found the textbook, and then I went through it, and I was like, hey, this idea is here. Then I further refined it. And
was that because there was no other opportunity at the time based on your academic credentials, or why would you have gone back to that particular textbook?
No. It was so my background work career. I was a supervisor at King Shaka Airport, my diploma. So I was managing the buffer zones, and then so I had to identify all those trees, the alien invasive trees. Then we were running systemic poisoning and etc. Then I was a manager for Zimbali and Mount Edgecombe,
doing what?
State 1 and 2. So in Zimbali, it was more of the wetlands, the nature conservancy area,
right.
Managing, identifying alien invasives and keeping it more indigenous.
Right.
So we had to, basically, if you watch National Geographic and the guys walk through the forest, we did the same thing. Or I did the same thing, the team and I. Then
you made sure that there were no alien invasions of the
indigenous
plants of the area.
Yeah, as much as possible. I had to figure out, just by identifying from the flower, leaf, bark, stem, whatever we were taught to identify it from. However, the most tricky part is a juvenile looks completely different to a fully grown plant.
Right.
So sometimes I looked at it as well, like this is the first time I'm looking at this plant. So anyway, but we had some seniors that guided us on how to balance off the identification, and then that was it.
Financially, was it lucrative doing what you were doing at the time?
It paid the bills, but I think my ambition, when I always looked up, if I use social media, I looked up at how many people are giving you solid advice on how to become successful, and you just acknowledge it but you don't do anything about it. So I said, you know what, Bismillah, let me take the risk and see what happens.
So you got a lovely shirt on. It's got the Hydra Power branding on it.
Yeah.
Obviously you're passionate about this business.
Yeah.
But Hydra Power could mean many things.
Yeah.
How did you derive this name, Hydra Power? What inspired you to choose this name?
So initially I wanted hydro power.
Right.
But then we had some conflicts. So then I took out the O, I put the A, and it passed. I didn't want to do much homework on just a name.
Right.
I just wanted to get my invention out.
Okay, so you say you sat there, you saw these pigeons, and they gave you an inspiration to start off a business. You realized that there was water that was not, the drains were being blocked, and there was no water not being drained out properly. And so tell us a little bit about this Hydra Power. What is Hydra Power? What do you do?
So basically we have a patent on it. So we got it passed in 2019.
You started a business 2018.
we took it further in 2018. So
When you say we, who was inspiring you at the time?
so basically my professors, they said, Samir, if you have something, go and take it forward. And then I had some on duty. There was a business unit, so I approached them. They guided me, and so the first stage was to secure my idea.
Right.
So I pitched to I believe it was 6 other professors on that table. So I did a presentation for them. They liked my idea. That was just paper to pen that time, a little bit of mathematics on that. And so the first phase I got 20,000 rand, and I used that to pay a lawyer that did my IP. So he actually invoiced me. I took the same invoice into my presentation. I said, I need this money. They gave me the money.
So that money was forthcoming from the DUT.
Yeah, so they assisted me from my starting.
Okay, so tell us, what is hydropower? What does hydropower do?
So we utilize building harvested wasted water to generate electrical energy.
You start slowly there. I think we're going to go slowly there. You use,
Building harvested wasted water.
building, harvest and wastewater.
No, building harvested wasted water.
Building, harvested wastewater.
Wasted.
Right, okay.
Yeah, wasted water. So we utilize that and we run it through our turbines, so we create hydroelectric energy. The same water we upcycle, so we use it for gardening, washing of cars, flushing of toilets. We also made it safe for human consumption, running specialized machinery. So we just finished off the Royal Hotel now, and we made portable water. That's the first hotel we generated portable water. We ran the SANS tests, and it passed.
Okay, so let's explore this a little bit slowly in terms of, what I think you're doing is brilliant. But where do you start from? Who are your typical clients?
So we're looking at your medium to high income residential properties, and then we're looking at your commercial and industrial buildings such as your malls, your hotels, your hospitals, your factories, etc.
Okay, so let's start on a what you term a high-end residential unit.
Yeah.
Would this be apartment blocks or standalone residential properties?
So you see, if you want your ROI for your energy side, we're looking for your height, because we're playing with the natural forces such as gravity to generate your velocity and your RPM, etc. Other than that, your apartments, yes. Standalones, ideally the upcycling of water will be more efficient if you look at an ROI point of view. But if you just want to go green, then we'll install the whole system.
So let's take an apartment block, for example. They would call you in. What would you be looking for in a typical apartment block?
The amount of water being emitted.
From where?
So our patent came from the novelty of harvesting air-conditioned condensation.
Right.
So if you look at your air conditioners, they normally have a conduit running out.
Okay.
So that normally drips into your grass, your cement, or whatever.
Or into your drainage, into your normal drainage. Right.
So an average system will lose about 22 liters given it's about 30 degrees and above Celsius.
And with the high humidity factor in Durban as well.
Yeah, high humidity. Then we're looking at industrial chillers where they emit much more.
Right.
So those are normally plumbed to a drain.
Okay, so what happens? You go in, you identify there's an apartment block, there's maybe 20 air conditioners in this apartment block or maybe more. What do you do then?
So we look at it, we study the architecture. We can't standardize the price because every building is different. So we just run a new network of basic plumbing. If you want to put it that way.
So you run a new network of plumbing.
Yeah.
Right?
Then we create our own reservoirs and then we run it through our turbines.
So where do you create these reservoirs?
So it depends on the architecture where we can install a system. Many buildings now we came across that had an aesthetic appeal. So most of the managers told us, operations guys, they told us, you know what, you need to place it here due for the image of the building, so on. So if we don't have criteria on where to place it, then we'll look at the best positioning for our system.
Okay, and then you have a reservoir, which means you're building up a water supply.
Yeah.
And now we're coming to your invention. What happens with this water?
So we time volumetric release it. So we got 2 patents.
Right.
Alhamdulillah, this last what's it, October? Yeah, August. We got the other one passed, and so we built a valve actuator.
Right.
So we engineered it. My brother was the one who came in handy too as well.
Okay.
Where I slacked off, he picked up. So some credit should go to him as well. And then so we built it, alhamdulillah. So we optimized our engineered turbines, and those actuators play an important role. If you had to put it in perspective, that's the brain, and the turbine is the heart, and we store the energy into the batteries, etc.
So this churns up electricity. I think it generates electricity.
Yeah.
So it must be done at quite a force.
Yeah. So we play with
and then what happens? You store this electricity
on batteries. Yeah.
On batteries.
Yeah.
And to be reused by that building.
Yeah, but when we say we're not claiming for every aspect of the building, we're only claiming for our emergency lighting. So we provide alternative to candles and torches. So if there's blackouts, load shedding, that's where the idea stemmed from.
Right.
Let's help resolve this load shedding issue because everyone complained about it.
But this would now take place day and night because you could generate this electricity day and night.
Yeah, it depends. Currently, we're flushing a system about 5 times a day because good amount of water. And but it everything depends on the mathematics and every building's architecture.
So let's talk a little bit about the mathematics. Time seems to be running with us.
Okay.
And I know you said to me 20 minutes was a long time for the interview, but you don't realize how time goes.
Time does fly.
So typically, what would a system cost, and how much of money can be saved by putting some system like this in?
Okay, so I can give you a range because you can't standardize it.
Sure.
Yeah, different architecture, different plumbing, different electrical costs. So basically, you can range from 65 to 250.
From 65,000 to 250,000 for a system. That would be a complete system that you've set up. And what would that give you in return?
So we can generate about 1 to 2 kilowatts per flush. So we can we put our emergency lighting on. So we don't touch the current building lightings. Our system comes with our lighting. We run our day nights basically. So if you want to run it at night, so we run it at night. You run it during blackouts, you run it during blackouts.
So maybe because of the time constraint, tell us some of the challenges you had initially when you started off this business.
Nobody wanted to believe in me.
Nobody wanted to believe in you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not an engineer. But, it's that old saying, if you're crazy enough to change the world, you usually do it,
Okay.
So I believe I'll take the risk, trust Allah, and just start. So biggest challenges, funding. I couldn't get the correct funding or the correct amounts, so it delayed my research and development.
And where did that eventually come from?
So first was DUT. They funded my feasibility, the mathematics, the patent, the trademarks. And thereafter, the Water Research Commission of South Africa, they took interest. So I was in a few magazines and papers, and then they found me from there. And then they took interest in my product and what I'm doing.
And now we're sitting here some 6-7 years later.
Yeah.
How's things been? Is it now a lot smoother in your journey?
Yeah. We actually in 2019 we made top 4 in South Africa. We left, went to Ireland. We made top 8 in South Africa. We left in Africa, and then we left and went to Denmark. So fully sponsored. First time I traveled, opened my eyes up a bit. And last year we came out third in the country.
Third in the country for what?
For the best SMME in the green sector.
Okay. And what are your future plans with Hydra Power?
Well, ideally, inshallah, I'd love to go international.
Okay.
I worked on the compound annual growth rates of many air conditioning units. And if you had to sit into these platinum countries like Saudi and Dubai, aircons are not a want, it's a need.
It's a need.
Yeah.
Because of the heat factor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to utilize that system in those countries even if you just want to upcycle water, make potable water. We got the IPs for the next 20 years, so they expire in 2039. So we fall under the G7 and G20 countries. That lawyer protected me thoroughly, so I'm quite keen to enter these international markets.
Fantastic. And from a funding perspective now, has it become a lot easier, or are you self-funding?
So currently, the last fund was the Water Research Commission, and from there we utilized to buy our own machinery for engineering instead of outsourcing. So we build it. We got a garage workshop, but ideally we'd like to get a bigger premise and a commercial building so we can get our SABS and ISO standards, etc.
Okay, there's two more questions before I let you go. Now that load shedding has kind of been on the back burner for the last few months,
Sure.
do you find that people are kind of slackening up and not taking you seriously any longer because the danger of load shedding seems to have subsided?
No, there's new legislations governing buildings to become more green and more efficient.
Yes.
So if you don't follow the new legislations, you'll get a fine. And I think what's today is the 7th.
Yeah.
On the 10th, the Turkmenia is enforcing a water cut.
Yes, that's right.
So the world is getting worse, regardless of what the media tells you. So it's something that I know that if my system will work for a long time.
Okay, inshallah, we wish you well
Inshallah.
on that. And lastly, what advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs, the people that are starting up in life, that are just finishing school, going into university? I mean, really, you followed a career path that's really different to anybody else. But what advice would you give entrepreneurs?
Solve a real world problem. If you want to become, if you're keen on doing business, solve a real world problem, and the success will come. Most importantly, just start. Take the risk, trust Allah, just start. There's no better time than the present moment. And if you wait for your business to be 110%, you'll wait forever. That's what I learned. Whether you're 50%, 70% ready, just start. You'll figure out your success is ideally important to the success of your team. Your team makes you. I promise
Team makes you, absolutely. Something that was emphasized by last week's guest as well.
Yeah.
It's the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
That
You'll always find somebody smarter than you in your team.
in your own team.
In your own team.
Okay, you got to accept that, acknowledge
You
that
acknowledge, you accept it. People will always be smarter than you. You'd rather have them on the same side.
as you.
Yeah.
Wow, wonderful, Samir. Lovely speaking to you. We know a little bit now about Hydra Power, and we wish you well at the annual awards evening. Inshallah, I'll see you there, and I'll be rooting for you.
Inshallah.
So, and your brother Amir as well. We hope to see you guys at the evening, and wonderfully well done on your idea and on the concept of Hydra Power. And I love the idea of going green and saving the world, so to speak, because you're right. We have lots of challenges with electricity, with water, and you in a space where you're kind of tackling both those issues at one go.
Yeah. Well,
fantastic.
Two problems, one solution.
Okay, Samir Khan, lovely speaking to you.
So,
Inshallah, we'll go for our break where we will have the Isha Azan as well. That's what our technician Zakaria tells us. And when we return, we will be interviewing Ashraf Ali from Cape Town, and he's a community activist. A wonderful CV. I'm looking forward to speaking to him as well. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. If you've just joined us, you're on the Business Matters program with me, Anwar Moolla. We have been having a really interesting conversation with Samir Khan from the Hydra Power Group. And now we're going to turn our attention to a person that's been nominated for the Community Builder of the Year award. There have been 3 nominations there. One is Maulana Suhail Wadi. The other one was Zahid Feki. And the person we're interviewing tonight is a gentleman called Ashraf Ali, who hails from Cape Town. Ashraf, assalamu alaikum and welcome to Radio Al Ansar.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Anwar, and to your listeners.
Lovely having you on air. Thanks for giving up your time, Ashraf, and being with us tonight. Ashraf, you are known as a sports development activist. Now, normally when we talk of activists, we're very familiar with the political activists, but we're coming across now a sports development activist, which tells me that you've literally devoted your life to promoting sport very much in the Cape Town area, but more nationally as well. So what inspired you, Ashraf, to begin your journey as a community builder, and how has that initial inspiration evolved over time?
Yeah. Shukran again for having me on the show. It's interesting that you mention, political activists. We obviously know we come from a divided past, and my parents come from humble beginnings. We were, obviously, back in the day, we were evicted out of District 6. So there is obviously a bit of a political activism in the background. But from that humble beginnings, I grew up, and one of the things that I love people, and what I hate is I hate unfairness. And I feel that dispensation that we lived in previously was unfair to society. And I used that background with my love for people and my love for sport. And I grew up, with that intention of trying to make a difference within society, within communities that are struggling. And that's how I became involved, in sport. I played sport. I was an average sports person, but I loved the games that I played, cricket and football, and I love all sports. And, it involves people, it involves youth, and I use that as my, my vehicle to kind of also 30 years down the line, we're still suffering from the effects of the previous dispensation. So I'm trying to help others change that dynamic for the
Ashraf,
better.
I've been told that you were in 12 years in corporate, and the last 27 years you've been self-employed and also kind of advising or doing various business advisory services. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
That's correct. So I come from a corporate background, yes, but I always had this desire to be my own boss.
Right.
And I got this opportunity, an SME, similar to your previous guest, that's an SME that's growing his business. This particular gentleman got a big contract and he needed someone to run his administration. I joined up with him with the proviso. I told him that I one day want to be in my own business. He said to me, look, I don't mind if you work for me and you start your own business, go for it. And that's how it kind of evolved. And I'm in different sectors and industries. Because our business, as you can hear by the name Cape Wind's Outsource Solutions, everything is behind. There's a process and there's a concept through any industry or sector. And I use that previous corporate experience and I apply that. And so we ended up in the BPO space and in the call center industry, but then it also helped support building and construction, where we had service providers, your handymans, your plumbers, your electricians. They just want to do the work. They don't want to worry with the administration. Right. And I kind of got involved, making them understand how important the administration part was. And that just evolved. And as that evolved, our own business, we obviously also had some setbacks. I had some setbacks in business, but that's part of our learning, our journey. And we then started our own family business. And when we started the family business, we decided that we are going to give back. And I use sport in giving back and serving in the community. And today we're involved with 2 non-profit PBOs, myself and my wife, we give our time and to these organizations.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head when you say you give off time, because it's very easy and when you go approach people and for them to give off financially, but ask people for time, and that's where the difficulty comes. Everybody's too busy to give you time. I believe you were also involved in the establishment of Awqaf SA an organization that's now very well known in South Africa from a Waqf perspective.
Yeah.
So interestingly, you were part of the group that established Waqf SA, and particularly in the Western Cape in the year 2000.
That's correct. But I was more in the background, helping, supporting. But I was part of the group that Mikhail Collier and Uncle Zaino from Johannesburg.
Yes,
they were the key drivers. We were the ones, in the background doing the hard yards. Whenever the team needed us, we were there. There was a inside joke in the organization, a revolving credit. So if there was things to be done, you dig into your pocket, you get it done, and then you can claim back. But by the time you claim back, the next project comes and that money just rolls over again back into the organization. So it was a kind of an inside joke that we had a revolving credit within the organization. But brilliant. Waqf is doing brilliant. I'm still work with Waqf on certain projects. They support some of our MPOs that we're involved with, and that is great.
Ashraf, I also believe you've been instrumental in raising funding for sending certain sports teams overseas. So tell us a little bit about where this emanated from and how this all came about.
So the two sports organizations are, the one is focusing on football, and that's called Cape Flats Sports Academy. So if you're familiar with Cape Town, we know that all our troubled areas is on the Cape Flats.
Right.
And that is the area. It's a vast area. We've got the townships as well. That falls under the same concept. So Cape Flats focuses on football. And one of the things that we realized is within our communities, they're very focused on just what's happening within the community. And we felt that taking people outside of the area and let them broaden their horizons is the best, opportunity to make them realize that there is more than just, within your community. And so, everybody gets excited with World Cups. Qatar was hosting the 2022 World Cup. And in 2017, we took 23 boys to Qatar with the sole intention that they go there and just get to experience different culture, different lifestyles, play against different clubs. And we had a very successful tour on and off the field. We had Ambassador Sony at the time, plus a lot of expats that got involved and came to watch the game. So there was a real vibe. And on our return, one of the boys became a professional footballer. Done. We said, if one of the boys becomes a success, then we've been successful. Interestingly enough, one of the boys that got onto the flight, some of them got onto the airport for the very first time, let alone the flight. And this one boy saw the pilot, and he said, I want to become a pilot one day. Today, the boy is a pilot, a qualified pilot. And some of those boys are running their own businesses, they're in corporate. So that talk really opened up their mindsets. It's more than just a sport. That's what we believe. Similarly, Hanover Park Cricket Club. So this is an area within Cape Flats, the areas. Hanover Park, all the social ills that you can think of. This is the area where I spend most of my time. We took 14 boys to the UK. Moeen Ali, the international England cricketer, is
Yes.
a personal friend. He's a personal friend of mine. I helped bring him over before he was an international a few times to South Africa, to Cape Town, to come play here at the local club, St. Augustine's Cricket Club. And Moeen is a patron of the cricket club, and he hosted the boys over there at his boy club where he used to play cricket. And today we have friendships overseas in Qatar and in the UK. And these boys have just developed. Some of them are playing in our flagship teams, in our senior sides. And we just want them to grow and develop into well-rounded individuals so that they can be a benefit for their community, but a benefit for society. And I feel through sport, we can then help grow our nation.
Ashraf, you spoke about one of the boys on the under-23 tour, the football tour, turning professional. How is he doing at the moment, and who's he playing for?
When he came back, he signed up for Ajax Cape Town.
Right.
He then signed up for Stellenbosch Football Club.
Right.
I must be honest, I have lost track of him because he's obviously, once he left the academy, he's got his own agents and things like that. For us, it was never about becoming an agent and overseeing them. It's for them to then go out into the world. But I believe he's still around. And interestingly enough, I have to say this, one of the boys that didn't make the trials,
right,
he was so determined, and he proved us wrong. He went on to become a professional footballer as well, and today he's playing for one of the biggest clubs, in fact the biggest club I believe in South Africa, if not Africa. He's playing for Mamelodi Sundowns.
Okay.
His name is Tashariq Matthews. And that's even a motivating factor when we speak to our boys, that, if you don't make it, doesn't mean you're going to fail. You can still go out there and make a success of yourself.
Okay, some of the current projects that you're busy with, Ashraf?
So our organizations is linked to a number of non-profits. For example, in COVID, everybody was under lockdown, but we kind of got special permits and we served the communities with hampers. We worked with various communities that's involved in that. Mustadafin, Sanzaf, and they all obviously help disseminate food parcels and things, and we got involved in that way. We involved with a number of soup and food kitchens in Hanover Park and beyond, and we run various programs, artisan programs, plumbing, electrical. We have some of our members that work for local government, and we get the youth in and we educate them on the local bylaws of the local municipalities. Because funny enough, if you understand your local bylaws as a sports administrator, it helps you to navigate when you deal with officials and politicians. It helps you to navigate to achieve some of the requirements that you need to manage and run the organization and the sport. So that's very interesting. And so we're building not only sports people, but we're building individuals to become administrators, coaches, umpires. We've got a few successful qualified umpires, scorers. So it's a broad base of different facets that we're trying to build the youth.
And Ashraf, I'm sure doing the type of work you're doing, the funding must be a major challenge. How are you overcoming that challenge?
Yeah, tell me about it. Funding is obviously our biggest stumbling block.
Yeah.
But I also want to say, politically, and I think that's where the activism comes into it. I really want to be a sports administrator, but sometimes politicians and officials, they turn you into a politician yourself, because you have to deal with a lot of red tape, a lot of inefficiencies, a lot of there's a lack of political will, and I say this with all due respect to those that do try, but are sometimes governed by the political parties. So funding for me is obviously one of the biggest stumbling blocks. I feel I do have a bit of a knack to engage with potential sponsors and things like that, but it's not easy. There's sponsorship fatigue. There's a lot of challenges when I sit in front of a sponsor and he tells me, I love what you do, but I want to focus and spend money on education. And I argue. I say, but to us, sport is part of education. If you go to our schools where we run school programs for cricket and football, and you ask the principals and the educators, where does that youngster want to be? Then they tell you they want to be with the coach instead of the educator. So we use sport as part of education. And so I want to reiterate, if there's any politicians and officials listening, please cut the red tape, make it easier for us, break down the barriers for us so that we can help. And when I say that, the lack of facilities is really in our areas, it's bad. And this is the reason why I feel that we don't produce enough from areas like ourselves. And I can't speak for the rest of the country, but in Cape Town, I feel there's a conveyor belt of talent on the Cape Flats in Hanover Park that is untapped. But if officials and politicians can just take their blinkers off, and even I would want to say administrators in the respective sectors of the sports, work with us, come and see what we're doing at grassroots level, and you're going to see a difference in the next 10, 15 years.
Inshallah. Ashraf, we salute you. We applaud you for having been nominated as one of the finalists in the Community Builder of the Year Awards. We look forward to, inshallah, seeing you in Durban for the awards evening, which takes place on the 25th of October at the Orient Hall. Looking forward to meeting you and your family there as well. And inshallah, all goes well for you, that funding issues are overcome, and that you are successful in breeding the next lots of what I would call the Duminis and the Cheslin Colbys and the great sports people that have come from underprivileged background and have proven themselves on merit, not on anything else but merit to represent our country.
Inshallah, Amin. Definitely, inshallah.
Okay, lovely speaking to you, Ashraf Ali. Jazakumullah for your time. Our time has run out, and inshallah, I'm not going to be with you next week, Monday. I'm off to China for a few days to get some work done. Inshallah, I'll be back with you the following week, just before the awards evenings. So, Jazakumullah to Zakaria behind the scenes here tonight, and look forward to being with you again, inshallah, in 2 weeks' time on another Business Matters program. With that, it's wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.